Hi, I'm Hans Delin here, your EMEA evangelist for Veeam software. Today we are going to talk about Backup and Replication 6.5 Cloud Edition. We just released Cloud Edition, and one thing I want to show you is how easy it can be to use one of the public resources out there, and it's going to be Windows Azure today. So let's start first with what is actually cloud storage. For the benefit of the presentation, we call it storage off-premise. So it's not in my own data center, it's not on my own laptop, it's somewhere in the cloud. These are a few of the examples everyone already knows about. It's Dropbox and Box, for example, but also Google Drive, SkyDrive, or iCloud, which are most of the time combined with your mobile phone or tablet. These types of cloud storage, we call them consumer graded cloud storage. And why is that? It's to put your files, your office documents, your pictures you've taken with your phone, and most of the time you get a decent amount of free space. And once you hit the ceiling of that free space, you can buy per gigabyte for some extra storage there. Now, a second part, if you have consumer graded cloud storage, you'll also have enterprise graded cloud storage. A few of them are, for example, Amazon S3 and Amazon Glacier, Windows Azure, Rackspace, HP Cloud, but also an open architecture like OpenStack if you want to build cloud storage on your own. For this presentation, we are going to focus on the enterprise-graded cloud storage. So Veeam made some integrations there, and we are going to show you what it is. So we're in released Cloud Edition. What is Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition? If you look at the business cards, this is my business card, and one of the things that I like about it the most is that Veeam listening to you, building the tools you need. So we have been listening, and one of the things that we heard a lot from our current customers and partners is, once you do a Veeam backup, I only have one copy of that backup file. Could you please give us a solution to get that backup of my production servers somewhere else? Now, as to today, it was not really a big issue to copy those files yourself with any tool you wanted. Think about even a robocopy or an rsync. We didn't really care about how you copy that because the metadata of the backup itself is already in that file. So if you would have that file anywhere else, you would be able to recover that. But it would be nicer if you could do it from within the Veeam tools. And that's what we did here. So we didn't want to wait for our next big release. We just released the new Cloud Edition for you. It is a standalone tool. It has integration with between 15 and 20 options to put your data somewhere else. So I talked to you of a few of them. You'll see them later on in the presentation, who they all are. 2 points that you need to keep in mind here is that Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition is about retrieving your data from somewhere that you've put it offsite. It's a copy of your backup files. It is not the actual backup file itself. So you're not making backups to the cloud, you're offloading your data to the cloud. So you will retrieve the data first before you start to recover. Think about it as how you do it today with taking your tapes out of your infrastructure, going to the back and putting those tapes in a vault. This is what we help you with. It is also built for the cloud, so it's going to be a subscription model instead of a perpetual model. If you need some information on that, please go to your local salespeople. Even for current customers, we do have solutions to change your current model or not from the perpetual to a subscription model. So talk to your local salespeople. For the presentation of today, I really wanted to show you how easy it can be to start your first public cloud storage account. And I did it with a Windows Azure account. So I'll go through all the steps I needed, and it's going to take, if you do it yourself, it's going to take less time than listening to this video. So first of all, go to manage.windowsazure.com and log in with your Live ID. If you log in with your Live ID, you'll see that we could not find a billing account for your account. So let's start that billing account. You'll see that you'll get a 90-day free trial, which includes already 35 gigabytes of storage. There's one thing to note here, that you will need a credit card. It's only required as a proof of identity. So they're not going to charge you anything unless you remove that limit manually. So here are the 3 key points. With your first account, you can have 90 days free trial, including already 35 gigabits of storage. Okay, and let's start. We've set up that billing account, and now we are in the main portal where we can go to the managed portal. And once you go for the first time to your management portal, you'll get a small introduction tutorial of no more than 30 seconds. You can skip it even if you want to, but it's 5 slides that show you where all the points are that you can use in the managed portal. So here is my Windows Azure management portal, and you'll see that everything from Windows Azure is in this one. You could set up websites here, virtual machines, or even start a SQL database within your Windows Azure account. For this one, we only need storage, so we clicked on the tab of storage, and I see that I do not have a storage account right now. So let's set up that storage account. We'll need a URL, core.windows.net, and I've put up front Hadley. Second thing you need to choose is what is your region. My region, of course, is Northern Europe, and there are 6 regions in the world, being Western US, Eastern US, and then Eastern Asia, Southeast Asia, Northern Europe, and Western Europe. You see that there's also a checkbox, Enable Geo-Replication. We'll see these a little bit further in the presentation, what that also means. So I have set up my first storage account, which is 3 months free trial, and it's set in Northern Europe. But I do not have a storage yet. Let's see what this brings. If you click on that storage account, this is the dashboard, the storage account dashboard within my Azure account. There's a monitor tab, there's a configure tab, and there's a containers tab. We'll go to the configure tab in a minute, but first I want to talk to you about the services. You'll see that there are 3 different services within your Azure storage account. The first one is blobs, the second one is tables, and the third one is queues. Just to let you know what those things are, I did a little bit of background research. This is going to be a technical slide, but it's going to take 2 to 5 minutes maximum, and then we'll go on. First type is blob storage. Blob storage really is about files. It is putting images, documents, anything that is a file as such in the cloud. Like you would put a file on a share of a server, you are going to put files in the cloud. This is what we are going to use in our Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition. The second type is tables. Tables, you can think about it like a database. It is a collection of entities. One entity can have 252 properties. So think about it as being a structured data set. You can create your own types of data sets here as long as they're simple. So as long as you do not need joins or stored procedures, you can make your own type of entities here. It's not a database as such. So it's not a SQL database that you're going to mount to your SQL server. That's not in the storage account. That could have been in your SQL database account. And the third type was queues. And queues are a set of messages. So it's going to be a group of objects that are going to be transferred in a complete queue, like asynchronous backlogs or a web role that needs to talk to a web worker. Forget all about this. We're only going to focus about blob storage. There's one thing more that I wanted to talk to you about, is about the blocks and the pages. Block type blob storage is files that you're going to transfer to the cloud in chunks of 4 megabytes. So there's going to be a hash key on top of the entire file, which will be bigger than 4 megabytes, but it's going to send it in blocks of 4 megabyte. And at the end, when all the blocks are sent, your application is going to send a commit or discard when it has checked all the blocks. This is pure for transactional I/O. Page blobs, on the other hand, are 512 byte chunks that will be auto-committed. This is more for random I/O, but I think it's going to have a bigger overhead per write, so we're going to focus primarily on block, which is, and it's 4 megabytes maximum by default, but you can alter that to 32 megabytes or 64 megabytes, for example, by changing the property single blob upload threshold in bytes. So this was the technical part behind every type of storage within your Windows Azure account. Let's go back to the user interface, and we've clicked on the tab Configure. Here is where you're going to configure your storage account. So for example, we enabled geo-replication. I was in Northern Europe, and you see that it's going to be replicated to Europe West. There's also, here you can put on monitoring for the blobs, the tables, the queues, and loggings. Okay, there's more options if you scroll down, but this is the basic that you can set options. Why is this important that you have these options? When you change these options, it will tell you that the change here can have some pricing impact. And this is where I want to talk to you about pricing in cloud storage. You've seen that the consumer graded storage is only going to charge you per gigabyte. But it's going to be more expensive than if you go to the enterprise graded cloud storage. Why is that? Because the gigabytes price in enterprise cloud storage is only a small part of the price. Okay, they don't want to charge you upfront for things that you will not use. So you only will pay for the actual storage of your data. When you are going to retrieve your data, some will pay extra for that. So if you only put it in the cloud and you will never use it, you'll never pay more than the actual storing of the data. If you want to retrieve it, you're going to pay for the bandwidth. If you're going to put millions of very small files, it's not going to be a lot of gigabytes, but it's going to be a lot of IOs, and you're going to pay for the IOs. And another part is that what you see here, logging is not by default enabled. Monitoring is not by default enabled. If you want that, you will pay some price for that. So look at all the prices from all the vendors before you choose the partner you wish to work for. The last point of this configure table is manage domain. Some of you do not like writing to xx.core.windows.net. Okay, so you can change that and put your own domain name behind it with a CNAME. Okay, this is really important. If you want to do that, you'll have to put the domain name here. Otherwise, your application will get wrong URLs back and it will not be able to talk to it. Okay, so just to know that you can use your own domain name here if you really want to. Next part is containers. I have an Azure account, I have a storage account, and now I have to create some containers, and these are actually the points where I'm going to write in. So add a container, give it a name, and then we're going to set up whether it's private or public. Okay, I made it private, so you would not be able to write to it. And actually, at this point, we are done. This is my my base dashboard of Windows Azure. I have a 3-month trial. It is online. It's a storage account, and it's based in Northern Europe. Last thing not to forget here is that I need to manage keys. These are secret keys that you can use and are auto-generated. They're long. You're not able to type these. These are very long keys that you will need, and also, of course, your storage account name. This is what you will need to identify yourself from within your application. And this is the end. You do not need to do anything more from within Windows Azure. My cloud storage account has been set up. So how does this look in the Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition? This is the Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition, where I started to make the accounts. And here you see all those 20 options in which we have, for example, also OpenStack. But today we are going to focus on Azure Storage Account. So when I click on Add my Azure Storage Account, this is what I see. I can put in the display name. The display name is how it's going to present itself within Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition. So this is not the account that I'm using. The account that I'm using is the second one. So account is the name that is known within Windows Azure. And then you're going to put in that shared key. And once you put your account and shared key in, it's going to search automatically for the containers. Okay, so you see that my container target 01 is already presented here. There's two more tabs on top here, which is cost estimates and virtual disk. Cost estimates is where you can put in the price per gigabyte that you will pay for your storage account. You could also prevent your backup if the file would be too big. So if it would go above a certain amount of budget or gigabytes. Be aware, this is only an estimate. This is not talking back and forth with your actual Azure account or with your Amazon account. This is only an estimate to give yourself some kind of control. The last tab is virtual disk. I've talked to you about that your application will write into the public cloud storage. But this is not talking to a network share or not talking to a block-based LUN that is mounted to your Windows server. This is an application writing over HTTP and HTTPS with an API to something in the cloud. So if you want to look into that storage that is off-site, not from within a website, you'll need to install a third-party driver here. And then you can mount that storage in the off-premise to your Windows server. And you can really look into it, what is really installed there. This is everything we needed to set up our Windows Azure account. When you are going to start to create your backup plan, this is where you will choose that account that you made. I'm not going through the entire create backup wizard itself. That's for another video. The only thing I wanted to show you today is how fast and easy it could be to set up your first cloud storage account. This is how the dashboard looks. You see that my backup was running. It was a total of 15 gigabytes. And you'll also see in the Veeam monitoring, of course, that my backup server is starting to do some network. Do not be afraid of that. You can throttle that network to a very low throughput, or you can put in a schedule when it can only run or when it can use the network. There's a lot of options there. Go to the other presentation where we go through the entire wizard. So what are the results? You'll see that there's even a little bit more of compression. My actual file was 16 gigabytes, which was already deduplicated and compressed within the Veeam backup tool, but when I push it to the cloud, it's even going to be compressed a little bit more. I lost at least 1 gigabyte in this file only. And when we look into our Azure target, afterwards we see that that 15.2 gigabyte file is also in the cloud. So that's all I needed to do. I think that was very easy. And now on my Veeam innovation page, I could finally add a cloud edition to our version 6.5. So what do you say? Are you ready to take a closer look?